gonna try welding aluminum with a welder that was not made for welding aluminum. This is Vevor's MIG 270. It's a DC welder. It does lift, TIG, stick, and MIG. I have it set up as MIG. We're gonna replace the sleeve with a teflon sleeve so we can feed aluminum wire through it, put aluminum wire in here, and change out the roller so we could try to weld this aluminum bracket I have for my van. It's got a little piece of aluminum missing, so I need to build up some aluminum, shape it, put it back on the van. So we're gonna try to turn this welder into an aluminum welder today. From what I've seen, you're gonna need a U-groove roller for aluminum wire. The one that comes with the welder is a V-groove, so you need to upgrade that. You're gonna need the aluminum wire. I think the most important piece right here is a new Teflon sleeve. If you use the stock one, it's just gonna get jammed up in there if you feed aluminum wire in. Once you upgrade that, you should be able to feed aluminum wire in without a spool gun. Currently my welder is stock set up for welding steel, so what we're gonna do first is change out the roller. We're going to change the V groove to a U groove. We are using 0.8 millimeter wire, so that is going to face the inside, just like that. You can screw the cap back on. So now the roller is set up for aluminum wire. We'll just pull out the wire. This wire is so much softer. And then we'll just feed it right on through. And we're not going to feed it all the way through yet. So the next and last step is to change out the sleeve inside the MIG torch. That's why we didn't feed the wire all the way through yet. On the MIG torch itself, this is the European fitting. Right here, there's this nut. You undo this nut here. You see an O-ring right here, and on the tip, you just grab hold of that and start pulling it. And this is the internal sleeve right now. Right here you can see it's like a steel coil, and that's why we're changing it to Teflon, because the aluminum will get snagged on this. I'm not entirely sure how it goes yet, so let me figure this out. I'll show you guys. There goes the O-ring. I'm going to take one end of this end of the gun, and I will just start feeding it all the way up until it comes out the other end. With a Teflon liner, I've pushed it in, put the collar on, put the O-ring on it, and then put the lock nut back on. And then I just cut it flush because that's the way my machine is designed. There's excess that you want to put as close to the drive wheel as possible, but my machine is not designed like that. With the tip, I just had it out here and then pushed it back in as I screwed that. And I see the Teflon liner through these little holes. So I have installed the liner. I'm going to feed it through. See if it comes out. Got the aluminum wire test. It's going through. So let's put the manual feed button on. We have aluminum wire. Just gonna put the shielding back on. And then we'll figure out a setting for this. We got a bunch of these aluminum ingots. I'll try on this. Also got a sheet of aluminum somewhere. So I've got my aluminum here. I've already welded a little bit. I had a lot of trouble setting it up at first. I've increased the wire speed, I've adjusted a couple things, and I think I've got it to flow as long as I am pushing a lot of weld through and don't think it's going to jam up. So let me show you what some aluminum welding looks like with a MIG gun that's not made for aluminum welding. And we jammed. Beautiful. That actually looks really good though. Nice. Let me show you how it jams up every time. So this guy right here, right there, so we jammed it up again. Oh, you know why? Because I've been taking the tip off before I do this. Surprise, it doesn't. That is a pretty weld. Boom. A little swirl action. I could work with that. I could probably weld with this. That U-roller actually makes it more manageable. If you catch the snag a little early, you are able to save it. It's just once it bends too much, then it breaks off, and then you have to dispose of 15 feet of wire. After a bunch of jams, I did end up getting this lobe welded back on. I didn't weld the lobe on, I just built up a bunch of aluminum around a bolt I had. I put a bolt in here and I welded aluminum over it because the aluminum did not stick to the steel bolt. And then I had a big blob of aluminum. I just used a grinder, cut it back, shaped it, and now I have this nice little factory lobe. It's not perfect, but it's doing the trick. These are the first tests I was trying with the aluminum welding. The first one I tried was to stack the weld on top of each other because I wanted to build up material. That's when I had the most jams, but if you're running a straight bead, I was able to run many beads without it jamming. You just have to be fast with it and let it burn off appropriately or else it'll clog. So all you'll need to convert your Vevor MIG 270 to weld aluminum is a U-roller, aluminum wire, and a Teflon sleeve inside of the MIG gun. The shorter the gun, the better for the aluminum wire to feed through. I believe this is the standard 15 feet. That's fine. This is not going to be a perfect setup like a spool gun will be, where it's right on the gun. This is going to feed all the way through, so you have a jamming point here and jamming points up here. And then you have 15 feet of wire. So every time it jams right here on the roller, you need to pull 15 feet of wire out of your gun. And that's pretty wasteful. One last thing to mention, this welder does accept gas in the MIG torch. Once you pull the trigger, gas comes out, and you have like a 75-25% mix. It's an argon CO2 mix. But you're going to need straight argon for aluminum, so you've got an argon tank with the hose running to the welder. So every time I pull this trigger, argon comes out and I can MIG weld with the aluminum with the shielding gas. So that's important. You need argon for that. Depends on what size tank you need, but they range from like 100 to hundreds of dollars. The Teflon sleeve and the roller cost less than $20 on Temu and AliExpress. The aluminum wire I did not have to buy, but that's probably $15-20. And the tank of argon is the most expensive thing, depends on the size you want. But if you already have this welder and you want to try welding aluminum, then it's worth it to try this conversion. But if you have a welder that accepts a spool gun, go with a spool gun. It's going to be a lot easier. It's just a little more expensive.